Okay. So, question number one: what is your current job title and position, and how long have you been in this role?
I'm a professional filmmaker, primarily a writer, producer, director. I have been on that quest for 10 years, but I made my first feature. I sold my first feature script maybe 8 years ago, but I made my first feature film 6 years ago. And since then, I've made two more feature films, an award winning web series, a television pilot, and a music video.
What degree and training do you have in this profession?
I have a bachelor's of science in biology, which is clearly related. But as of 3 months ago, I also have a master's in fine arts in motion pictures.
Just like, how long did it take you to complete your degree?
Well, I got my undergrad degree in 4.5 years, and then I drifted for a while in another career, which was education. I was the manager of a private tutoring facility in California. And then I decided that I wanted to become a filmmaker, and I did start that process by going to University of Miami and beginning my MFA. And I got hired straight out of the program while I was working on my thesis to write the first script that I was ever hired to write. And from that point on, I basically was working as a writer and then eventually a producer and then eventually a director, no stop until last year. And I finally went a year without doing a major project. And in that time, I finished my MFA. So if you don't count that gap, I would say I have a 4-year degree in a pure science and a 2 years degree in a Master of Fine Arts.
So, like 6 years.
Yep. I mean, it's 6 years, but it took me like 15.
Your position.
Well, I'm also a screenwriting professor here, and I also teach film production here at Valencia College. I got my first screenwriting job based off a script that I wrote, a spec episode of Friends that one of the aspiring producers in my program read and thought was funny and wanted to hire me to write a comedy with him, which was actually a musical, but then became something else, and then eventually that project just died and we went on to other projects. The way I got my job as a professor here is my second feature film, Missionary, was a co-production with Valencia, and that went really well and got a nice little theatrical release. It's streaming on Netflix currently, and I came back the next year and I made my web series. And while I was introducing the project to the class, to the film technology program, I just mentioned that I was excited to be working with students because someday I aspired to come back and be a college professor. And after that meeting, he asked me if I'd like to start that next semester and offered me a job, to which I accepted, even though in my mind that was something I would do way later in my life. And I started like a month later, trial by fire.
That pretty much covered the career and educational path. That was the other part of the question. What do you enjoy most about your job, and what do you enjoy least about your job?
I completely enjoy my job. I guess I would like to be more successful, but I'm not complaining about. I'm already probably 99% in the top 1% of all people that do this career path. If I never made another project, I would not be disappointed in the fact that I got to have the opportunity to make 3 feature films and a handful of other projects. It is exhausting being on set and making a film. I sometimes question whether I'm getting too old to do it, which is sad because I'm just barely knocking on the door of my 40s. And I like everything about being a professor, except for teaching online classes, which I do every semester though. I think I'm just blessed in that aspect that I truly do things that I've always aspired to do. I just got lucky, and I wouldn't say lucky. I guess I just never compromised on that path, and There are other opportunities that I turned down, which who knows how my life would have went if I took them. Originally, with that biology degree, I wanted to be a dentist. So I'm definitely not a dentist. I'm glad I'm not a dentist, but I probably would have made a ton more money. I absolutely would have made a ton more money if I would have been a dentist. But it's not yet determined how much money I will make in my life. I might catch up on the back end of that, but I don't regret that.
Okay. What advice do you have for students who are interested in pursuing film careers?
Just general advice.
Yeah.
If you can't spend a few hours every day working towards the film projects you're working on in some capacity, you just like film. You don't want to be a filmmaker. You may like the idea of being a filmmaker, being a writer, producer, director, but not enough to actually do it. Being a filmmaker is every day you make films in some capacity. You're doing something towards making your films happen. I would, as far as education goes, I am a believer in the film technology program here at Valencia, which I do not teach a part of. So it's not a biased opinion. I teach outside of the film technology program, all my classes. But I think that if someone wanted to get a film degree, if I had one of my 17 nieces and nephews ask me if what I'd recommend they do, I would recommend that they get their AS certificate through the film technology program and taste of all the below the line positions that all the technical aspects of making film, and then go to a school like UCF and get a master's degree where you will essentially study to the above the line writer, director, producer. And so when you're done and you have that degree, you also have a broad education in all the departments of film. And you may know after just getting that AS that you love being in art department, or you love being in lighting or camera, and don't need to pursue the rest of that degree. But even if you decide, yes, I do want to pursue being a writer, director, producer, it will only help you to know how all those other positions work. And you also get a chance while you're doing the film technology program of actually being on a set and experiencing the 12 to 16 hour day that a film set life is comprised of. And you may hate that and you may love it, but it's better to, the sooner you realize what the business actually is and what it's actually like, then you can make an informed decision of whether you want to do that. Like with me in biology, I did a job shadow with my dentist the year that I had to start applying for dental school. And I knew by lunch on day one, I did not want to be a dentist, and I would never be a dentist. And maybe I would have been better off pursuing something else if I would have known that when I was a freshman in college.
Could have taken a different path.
Yeah.
Personally, my goal is to direct my own films. What steps could I take now to build a portfolio for later jobs that could lead me to that position, since there are so many steps to reaching that on a professional rather than personal level?
I don't know if you're interested in writing. I would either be creating original content that you can direct, or I would be looking to acquire original content. So I would either writing short scripts that are challenging to make but possible to make, and ideally with a low budget, or I would befriend writers that have that in mind, of which there are probably many, and try to make a short film, X amount of short films per year, while you're also getting your formal education in filmmaking, and learn from your mistakes. Like, I've never made a music video. It's not something I'm particularly interested in, but I'm making one right now for a friend as a favor, and if I was to make another one next month, there's a lot of things I would do differently that I'm just learning the editing room. Oh, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, which are things you would never get when you're shooting a film, but a music video is just a different animal, and it's something that if I was to do it time again, I would get better every single time, and quicker, and I would know, oh, these are things that I would never use, and these are things that I would love to have if I could. And so by making those short films, you will learn what works and what doesn't. And you'll also be building up scenes and moments that are spectacular that you could put in your reel. And hopefully eventually you build up to a point you have one short film under 5 minutes that is all amazingly crafted, and use that as a showpiece for when you acquire a script, or you write a script and you have yourself attached to it, and Hollywood wants to make that script, and you say, but I want to direct it. Instead of saying you're out of your mind, you'll be like, and here's my reel. Take a look at what I made for $1,000. And they'll look at it and be, damn, this looks good. Maybe this is something we'll take a chance on.
The thing I'd like to achieve in the future
Global domination.
Yes, but that's not the point. that's a little bit further in the is owning my own production company. And what could you give me about this type of plan that I would think about between now and then?
Well, I have owned production companies in my lifetime. My first 2 feature films I made under the banner of my production company, Poilywood. But in that sense, Poilywood, we didn't own any gear. Just owned property to be developed into films. You want to own a production company to what end? Like, you want to be hired to do other people's productions as crew?
To do that, also be able to produce my own stuff, my own production company as well.
And by that you mean not to rent gear, like you own gear? I would recommend that you do not do that. Okay. Would be my recommendation. I mean, unless that you love gear and you love being a technician, love fixing gear, and you want to make what you want to do in business is not be creative, but it is to make money by supplying gear to other people. Mm-hmm. And maybe sometimes you might attach yourself to that gear in the sense that if you hire me as your gaffer, I have a grip and electric package. You hire me as your director of photography or your DIT or your camera op, that I have a camera package. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to be any of those things, if you want to be above the line, I don't think you need to own any gear. And in fact, in my opinion, if you're touching gear, you have hired the wrong people, because ideally you know all the positions, and perhaps even you know them well, and that you could do them if you needed, but you're hiring someone that knows them better than you. And so you have a crew, and everyone's an expert in whatever they do, and there's no reason for you to ever be setting a light, because your gaffer's so much better. And there's no reason that you're ever framing a shot, because your camera operator is just talented in that regards. And in that sense, you don't need any equipment. Those people have equipment, and when you make a production, your company, which you can still have a production company just fine, will hire their production company to work for your production company to make a production. But I think the pursuit of gear and more gear is not a path to making, that's a path to owning an equipment house.
Okay. That's it. Easy peasy.